What's up, everyone? Kevin here from Skywatcher. Welcome to another episode of the What's Up Webcast. We do this every Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific, right here at the Skywatcher USA YouTube channel. We cover everything from what's up in the nighttime sky to equipment to helpful tips and tricks. And of course, at the end of the month, we have a special guest to talk about their specialty in the field of astronomy. So, today is the 5th anniversary of the Skywatcher What's Up Webcast. We've been doing this for 5 years. It's really hard to believe that it's been that long. Nearly 250 episodes. Thank you all for hanging out with us on Fridays and being a part of it and all the stuff we've had on here. So today we're just going to go over some of our most memorable moments that we've had here on the What's Up Webcast. We have clips that we're going to play through. We'll talk about it a little bit. Very laid back, casual thing. But before we get started, please go ahead and leave a like on a video, subscribe, let us know we're doing a good job. We should keep doing this. We really appreciate it that we've been doing it this long. So a little backstory before we do actually, let me just do this before I forget about it. If you like what you see here on the What's Up Webcast, please go ahead, subscribe, leave a like. If you want to support us more, head over to skywatcherusa.com and you can pick your favorite telescope, bunch of stuff on sale. You can also head over to skywatcher.threadless.com and pick up a bunch of cool stuff over there, including swag. But yeah, got all kinds of stuff. Now, really quick, the What's Up Webcast started in March of 2020. So we had done interview stuff before with other companies. We've done it at NEAF. And we've worked doing stuff with that before. And when COVID hit, NEAF was canceled. All the trade shows were canceled. All events were canceled. And the thought was like, well, what do we do? How do we stay in touch with all of our friends, and how do we stay in touch with just all of you? So I threw the idea out for doing the webcast, and it's just kind of stuck. And it's gone way longer than I ever would have expected it to go. But we hope you guys enjoy it. You clearly seem to enjoy it because we're here 5 years later. But it's awesome. So thanks again for being a part of it. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We've got a bunch of little clips here that we're going to play. If you've got questions on telescopes or whatever, throw them in the chat. We'll be happy to answer them. And 2 weeks from today, we are setting up NEAF, our NEAF booth. So it's going to be crazy. So things are really chaotic right now. So we hope to see a bunch of you at NEAF and stop by, say hi. We've got some new stuff we want to show you too. We'll be talking about a lot of that as we get around NEAF, and after NEAF, we'll be talking about, we've got a lot of episodes planned to talk about some of the new stuff that's coming as well. So first off, let's get started on the longest webcast that we've ever done. That was our, yeah, let's just get to it. So here we go. Hopefully the sound is working on here.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the What's Up Webcast, Webcast-a-thon Extreme. And here is your host, Kevin LaGore.
So yeah, we have a bunch of little stuff like that you guys will be seeing throughout the episode. That was our intro from our our Webcast Extreme that we did a few years ago, where we basically did a whole day's worth of streaming. We had interviews, we had all kinds of stuff on there. It was quite a production, and it wouldn't have been made possible without our entire team, including Simon Tang, who we've had on before, who's a fantastic organizer of all the video and audio for something like that. But yeah, that was quite a feat. We've talked about doing it again, but it takes a ton of time to get all of that put together. So that was a really fun one. Lots of memories from that one. yeah, so that was our intro from the Webcast Extreme. So that was really kind of cool to do. There's a question here. Random question. Since the optics of telescopes are made in China, has the tariffs affected the pricing? Not yet for us, but we're seeing what can happen. So, all right. So speaking of NEAF, now I will let you know this next clip is pretty low resolution. I think we were using an old GoPro for this one, but you can see how much work goes into setting up the NEAF booth. It's a time lapse. We'll have to do one this year. I always mean to do one, and then when you get there, it's just like, but the way this year and NEAF are working, this should be a little bit better. But yeah, I'll get that up here. You can see what a time lapse is. Our booth this year is even bigger, so it might be worth doing a time lapse. So let's see what it's like to set up for NEAF at the Skywatch booth. So yeah, that was NEAF 2016 is when that time lapse was done. NEAF is our biggest show that we do. Last year we shipped 2.5 tons of equipment. Not even like being a joke where it's like, oh, we shipped tons of stuff. No, we literally shipped 2.5 tons worth of equipment to NEAF last year, and this year probably be more. Because the booth's even bigger and there's new stuff being shown off. NEAF is quite a production. It doesn't matter what company or what booth it is, whether that's a little booth, 10 by 10, or big like us. It's a production for every single company that represents there, from the logistics to the planning to getting there, all of that. So NEAF is a huge production on so many levels, and we appreciate everyone who's involved with that. And we're excited to be back and see all of our friends there. So if you're coming, stop by, say hi. But yeah, that's some behind the scenes of what NEAF and the production of NEAF is like for us. We'll try to do another time-lapse video this year when we set up and do high resolution. Time-lapse has gotten way better. So we'll do some high resolution time-lapse. And I'm sure we're going to do a NEAF overview video after NEAF is over. And we'll try to include that with there. So another show that we've done before, and unfortunately it's not around anymore, is the Advanced Imaging Conference. And if you weren't around for this one, it was the first time that we've ever done a What's Up webcast outside of the studio. Again, it was a big production to do, and Simon has been a huge asset to making sure that these things run. But here is our Advanced Imaging Conference walkthrough episode, and we're talking to Planewave.
So this is Matt from Planewave. If you haven't, what's your YouTube?
At Matt Diederich.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, kind of common.
Matt does the installs for Planewave. Are you the installer or one of the installers?
The main one, but we obviously need to train more people with how busy we've been getting. It's kind of crazy.
Need a job, exotic places. So Planewave obviously doesn't need much of an introduction at all. They're kind of the big player as far as big telescopes go. But this one is one you guys have been working on for a while. So this is an L350 mount, which is their direct drive, but this is their new Delta Row, and I'll just hand it over to Matt to actually tell you about the Delta Row, because it's ridiculous in every sense of the word.
It's awesome. Hey guys, yeah, thanks for hanging out with us. So the Delta Rho is our new wide field telescope. Wide field meaning that instead of the high focal length CDK design, we have a corrected Cassegrain. So corrected meaning we have corrective lenses in the back, and it's providing a 60 millimeter image circle, 350 millimeter aperture, and 1050 millimeter focal length. So amazing for good wide field astrophotography, satellite tracking, debris detection, that sort of thing for the SSA related markets. But
Sensors.
yeah, can illuminate the big CMOS sensors that are available nowadays, and a lot of people like running the ZWO 6200s or QHY 600s. This one you could also toss on like the QHY 461, the nice wide field. I want to get one of those for our 600 package. That would be pretty cool to try to take advantage of the bigger focal length or field of view that it could offer. But yeah, it's on a 350 mount. Relatively small for what kind of we're used to dealing with compared to the 600 packages that we're installing all over the place. But yeah, we have a larger one coming out eventually. It's not here at the show, but it's a 500 millimeter, a 20-inch F3 as well. Yeah. So again, I mean, this one feels like cheating with astrophotography as it is, because we grab. Yeah, it's. I can't even imagine shooting the half-meter F3 with these CMOS sensors. So that's going to be pretty fun. But yeah, I mean, we're excited just to obviously be at AIC, hanging out, and joining you guys.
So we did a whole walkthrough of AIC that year. There we go. We did a whole walkthrough of AIC that year live. We interviewed people. We walked all around, showed all the different cool stuff. You can watch that episode. Actually, you can watch all these episodes. They're floating around. But yeah, you can go through our library of episodes. But that was a cool one. It was the first time we had ever done something outside of a controlled environment. The webcast is a fun thing to do, but it has been a big technical endeavor over the years. We started on a laptop, which did okay. And then over trial and error, we found that the laptop did not have enough power to run everything that we need to run. So things have evolved, better computers, multiple monitors, upgraded internet, cameras, all of that. It's been a big learning curve to do this. I mean, the machine I'm running right now to do this has 64 gigs of RAM, dedicated graphics card, 4 terabytes of memory, and 3 24-inch monitors. And then we have our own audio mics. We're using Scarlett Studio mics. We have all different like Blackmagic controllers to control different cameras. And then right now I'm broadcasting on a Canon 7D Mark II that's hooked in. So it's been a production to learn how to do all of this. And then we use OBS Studio to control everything. But it's been quite a production to learn the ins and outs on how to make this all work from both the software standpoint as well as all the mechanics behind it. But trying to do this stuff outside of the studio where the main computers are is very difficult because it all comes down to internet, comes down to the computer processing capability, cameras, and the limitations of your location. So we'd love to do more of these external ones like AIC was, but it is a production and an incredible amount of logistics that has to be put into play. So it's not impossible, but it's a lot of work. Now, a few years ago, many years ago, actually, at this point, some friends of mine, as many of us do when our astronomy clubs are hanging out, joked around how it would be funny to make a rocket out of a telescope. And some friends of mine have worked for Honeywell and Raytheon. One of them flies high-powered rockets and builds them. And there was always this long-standing joke in our group about it'd be funny to make a telescope or a rocket that flew out of a telescope tube. And years and years and years went by, and eventually I started working at Skywatcher, and we had some leftover stuff, and the idea came up again, and we did it. So this was before the webcast was a thing, but we made a video about it, and you can watch it. It's a lot of fun to watch. We still have the rocket. Actually, it's in the office in California. It has been shipped to NEAF before. It's been showcased there. But it was a lot of fun to do it. I'd love to fly it again. It could do a bigger motor. Maybe one day we'll do it. But yeah, let's check out the clip.
This is your cover for later. Oh, we're getting ready to launch. Feel the breeze coming up. My name is John Meshberger. I'm flying a Skywatcher Quantum ED-150. We've converted it to added fins to make it into a rocket. It's going to fly on a J570 with about 1150 Newton seconds maximum thrust. Should hit maximum velocity about 297 feet per second and peak out at about 1400 feet in about 9.5 seconds.
Ranger clear. Going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, launch.
So the rocket thing was really kind of a fun one to do. That was like a 10-year joke that turned into a reality. So here at Skywatcher, of course, we're a telescope company. Of course, we're here to sell stuff and make money for ourselves and make a living. That's what a job is. But that doesn't mean we can't have fun doing it. And our team, we're a small team, but we mesh really well together. We have fun with each other. You know, you spend so much time working with these people or people you work with in general. So it's good to have a good functional relationship with everyone. So we're a pretty good team, and it's fun to be able to do these little quirky things every now and again. Of course, you know, it's not something that we do every day, and we haven't done something quite that quirky since. But it was fun to do it. We had the parts. Our friends volunteered to make it happen, and we launched it. We should really do it again. So, Jeff, it might be time to dig out that rocket and dust it off and load it up again. So you can watch that whole episode. It is on our YouTube channel. It's not a What's Up Webcast episode. It's just a standard episode, or just a video that we made, but it's up there in the library. It's several years old, so you're going to have to dig for it. But because we did a screen grab of it, obviously the resolution wasn't great. But if you want to watch, there it is in the chat right there. You can watch the whole thing with a lot better resolution there if you want to see the whole production that was. But it was a great time. It was a beautiful day. And it was nice to be flying out in the desert here in Arizona as well. So we've had a lot of people on over the years, and some of them are well known, some of them are not so well known, some of them are characters, some of them are just great people in the hobby. But one that I think many of us know, and he's a fun person to talk with, even though we had to pre-record it because of time changes. One of those people, of course, was Dylan O'Donnell from Australia. You probably watch his episodes on Star Stuff on his YouTube channel. But Dylan is a character. He's a lot of fun to hang out with. Would love to have him back on sometime soon. I know the time is a difficult thing for us to wrangle, being he's in Australia. But yeah, we had a good time, and here is Dylan. I'm in the U.S. in Arizona.
So, as far as I know, if you are a big company like Skywatcher and you look in your Google Analytics for your key audiences, you'll find that America is the #1 astronomy audience, closely followed by usually it's the UK and then maybe Australia, but they can swap sometimes depending on the time of the year and the trend and the interest. But the top 4 countries are America, UK, Australia, and Canada. And I think Australia is doing pretty well because we are a really small country with not very many people. So to be up there in the top 4 in terms of traffic and interest in astronomy is really good. It's a really wonderful country to do astronomy from. We've got, I'm sorry, we've just got better skies than you do, both because we can see more and the light pollution is quite low as soon as you get out of the city. We're a big empty country, so you can just drive 1 hour in any direction and you will be in darkness. And and we're in the southern hemisphere where we see all the best stuff, the biggest galaxies, the biggest naked eye galaxies, the biggest globular clusters, the biggest nebulae. We just got all the best stuff, I'm sorry to say.
Yeah, well, we all know how it is when it comes to comets, how well off the southern hemisphere is. Up here in the north. We're kind of like, what is happening down there? So, but and you're in Byron Bay, which is on would that be the east coast of Australia?
Yeah, it's the easternmost point of Australia. So technically, my observatory, my little backyard dinky observatory, is the easternmost observatory in Australia. Byron Bay was like a bit of a hippie town. Everyone came here for a music festival back in the 70s and then took a lot of drugs and then never left. But recently...
Forgot how to go home.
Yeah, pretty much. And recently it's become very trendy. So there's a lot of celebrities moving in, and Chris Hemsworth lives here, and Matt Damon owns property here. And you can go down the street and bump into musos down at the bakery and stuff like that. It's a pretty trippy place to live in, but I think it's becoming less hippie and maybe more yuppie these days.
So that was Dylan. It's been a while since we've had Dylan on, but it was a lot of fun talking to him. I don't think I've spoken to him much since then at this point. But yeah, some of the older episodes that you guys are going to see, you'll see a lot of the technical stuff change throughout the years that we've been doing this. The audio has gotten better. The balance has gotten better. We've learned the ins and outs of what needs to be done. So you'll see the idiosyncrasies of the evolution of how we run the show. And each episode just gets a little bit better. Now, one episode that we've done before, a couple times actually, we probably are going to start doing it annually, because last year we did it at the end of the year and you guys loved it. And that is our State of Skywatcher episode, where we have more of the team on. So here's a clip from this past year's State of Skywatcher, where we had Jeff, who is the director of Skywatcher here in North America, and Jared, who's our marketing specialist. Both of them will be at NEAF. You're welcome to come by and say hi, as well as Alex, our tech guy, who we do our tech talks with Alex as well. We'll all be there, so you're welcome to stop by, say hi. But here is a clip from this past State of Skywatcher.
Where was I? Oh, this year. This year in particular has been pretty exciting. There's a lot of changes going on. OPT went away at the end of last year. Orion and Meade and Coronado have just, as you know, in the middle of July, they just disappeared. And they sold a lot of Dobbs. And so we'll see how that affects us. Anyway, this year has been good for Skywatcher, particularly Skywatcher North America. So yeah, I'm feeling really good about moving forward. But let's talk about the details of that. How do you guys feel about it? I'm up here looking down, and you're all yes men, so I don't know if anything horrible is going on.
Well, I think we had a really great year again with our events. It's always I think I said this last year, it's always just a real great refresher and a real great um, just sort of community building exercise when you get out in the wild and you get to hang out with people that are in this hobby, people that are in the industry, and it kind of just cements all the relationships and all the good times, all the dinners that we get to go to, and just the conversations that are had and all that good stuff. I mean, we got up to Canada again, which is always great. That's becoming a new one of my favorite shows. So,
Yeah,
and
Starfest.
that one,
This was my first year for Starfest,
and
and
that
I
one
was
really,
impressed.
it really brings out young scientists. Like, there's like two or three that I think we've talked with 2 years in a row. They're like doing research, they're getting published, they're getting astrophotography rigs, and
Yeah. Well, and right now, I would like to go to more places in Canada. Right now, Ontario Starfest is the largest event. Um, and our resources for getting out to star parties and trade shows are limited. We can only do so much, but I mean, I would like to do more in Canada, but in the meantime, Ontario Starfest is going to be a regular event for the foreseeable future. It's just there's no reason to not go.
It's a good time of year for us too, because it's kind of quiet at the end of the summer there. There's not a lot of events going on, particularly here in the States. There's always something going on, but it's well placed for us calendar wise for us to be able to hit it.
And geographically, a number of our dealers are there who do, and a lot of them come to Starfest. Uh, so I mean, for me, it's a nice way to, and it's really casual. You're out in a field, it's pretty cool. So I'm having conversations with other dealers and with other manufacturers out there, but it's all casual, right? It's not the smoky room where all the deals are made, kind of just talking about the industry and what's happening.
well,
So
and we get brought plates of barbecue chicken, and Ron Brecker brings his guitar and his amp setup. So
It's not a bad way to spend the day,
yeah,
but it's a really good. I like what Jared was going with earlier, where going out to these events. NEAF is great. That's a big one. We get to see a lot of our friends there, but being able to go out into the field like Starfest or Texas Star Party or wherever, that kind of solidifies our foundation where we get to hang out with you guys and meet you guys and observe with you guys and yell at our telescopes with each other. And um, it that's at the end of the day as a company, and Jared and I are actually active astronomers. It's something that's actually kind of fun to be able to go out and be like, this is the end goal. This is where our products end up, and this is where you guys, the audience, and the people that we meet, that's how you guys support us and how we're able to get a pulse on what you guys think needs to be around.
well, and from the very beginning, I have said when we hire a new person, the very first thing we do is we take them to the next star party. Not trade show, but star party, because I think it is important that everybody that's working for this company know who our audience is. And a trade show is not our audience. I mean, we actually sell to dealers because we're a distributor. So honestly, our direct clientele are the dealers, but our end users, the people that are out in the field, those are the people that talk to the dealers and say, this is what I'm looking for, this is what I want. And if we don't know who those people are, then we're going to miss the mark. We're going to miss the mark in our marketing. We're going to miss the mark in our product development. We're going to miss the mark in delivery. So though trade shows show the industry that we're involved, star parties show the hobby that we're involved.
Yeah, so that was a clip from this past What's Up Webcast, State of Skywatcher at the end of 2024. So there'll probably be one at the end of this year and every year moving forward because people like having us on. And it's fun talking to you guys. But you can all come and talk to us in person at NEAF if you want to see it. So we've had Simon Tang on quite a bit, especially around the eclipse, to talk about all different solar processing, and all those videos are available. So they're up there, but here is a clip from Simon Tang talking about solar processing.
I am going to initiate a screen share. Make sure there's no things flying around. Okay, perfect. So we're going to pick up from pretty much where we left off last time, which was processing, because we kind of just blasted through it, predominantly because we were actually doing a live look at the sun this time. I don't have everything set up today because I kind of want to concentrate on this. So I'm going to show you two different things here. So we're going
to switch to full screen, guys. So you won't see me. You'll see Simon up in the corner, and he'll have full resolution. So that way you guys can see the whole processing there. But I'll be floating here as a floating head in the background.
Do they have to see me?
Well, I could drag you away.
Yeah, drag me away. Get me out of there.
Whoop. There. No more Simon. That way you can see all the processing screen and nothing's covered up. So there we go.
You'll have to excuse me. I do have my cat here. She wants to be a part of the live stream. Good, she's moving away. All right, so first things first, I'm just going to quickly show you something about the data that you collect. A lot of people actually try to expose for prominences, but don't realize that the data is actually already there. So I happen to have an image that shows this exact thing. This is a piece of software called IMPPG, in case you're wondering. You should probably remember that from last time. This image actually has a prominence in it hiding, and in fact, you can just about make it out here. And what a lot of people do is they will try to expose their image to only show the prominence. So you get this effect occurring. So you get a great big blown out white disk, and you can see the prominence. But the reality is the data is actually there. And by manipulating the histogram specifically, we can actually retain the details and the exposure of the sun, as well as show these prominences. And the way we do that is by simply adding these curves, these points, until it shows up. And then we can actually turn down everything else so it matches accordingly. So now, I mean, this is an inverted image, keep in mind, but now I actually have the prominences showing up with the solar disk as well as all the surface features. Sorry, the cat's being distracting.
So that's Simon, and Simon is a fantastic solar processor and a good friend of ours. Another good friend of ours who does amazing work is Richard Wright.
There's a thin line between science educator and popularizer and celebrity.
Yep. Yes.
I'll leave that. I'll leave that there on the table, and you can make of that what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
What inspires you most about astronomy and astronomers, I guess? So.
What inspires me most? I mean, I guess, from my childhood, I've been, fascinated by the night sky and the moon. I used to lay in the yard and look at the moon, and I'm old enough to where I remember looking at the moon when there were astronauts walking on the moon. And so that, I guess, got me started. The thing about, a weird thing that my family doesn't understand, a lot of my family, is when you realize how big the universe is, it makes a lot of people feel very small and insignificant. And it has exactly the opposite effect on me. The fact, it's like, everybody plays the lottery and somebody wins the lottery. Imagine how they feel. I won the lottery. Not just that I have all this money, but I am so lucky. I am the one in a billion, trillion who won this lottery. And maybe that's how I feel, because it's not that I feel small and insignificant on this tiny speck of dust. It's like, wow, I actually have some comprehension of how big and how vast and how amazing the universe is. And that actually makes me feel very important. It makes me feel very rare. It's and very special. It's like there's nobody on Mars that knows what Mars is. There's nobody in the rest of the solar system off of the planet Earth that we know of, going, hey, this is really cool. And I understand, radiation and why the sun works and, the solar wind and, or how old the universe is or how big the universe is. And so knowing that, and the more I learn about that, the more special and privileged I feel about that. And it makes me feel big and huge, even though I'm a small, insignificant ant on this rock going around the sun. I have this perspective that, that is most likely very, very rare in the universe, very, very precious. The most precious, rare thing in all the universe is probably us or other creatures like us. And there may not be very many of us out there. And so that does not make me feel like life is pointless. It makes me feel like this is so much more valuable than you possibly can get your arms around at times.
Yeah. So Richard's been on several times. He's a good friend of ours, and he will also be floating around NEAF if you're there. Probably have him on again. Fantastic programmer, astrophotographer, processor, speaker, lots of credibility when it comes to Richard. Now, many of us are aware of what it's like to deal with light pollution. It's kind of a uphill battle. But we had John Barentine on several years ago to talk about what it's like to fight against light pollution. So check it out. Cool. And I know that's a big badge of honor for a lot of places to achieve that IDA certification. And I know Grand Canyon, I know I bring Grand Canyon up a lot. That's my place. It represents the state, and it's an awesome place to be. But the national parks have spent, particularly Grand Canyon, have spent a lot of time and money to make sure that they are preserving their night skies, because as it's grown over the years, they say half the park is after dark. So they're basically treating the night skies as no different to preserving their geological formations as they are their night sky at this point. And, I'm sure you've worked with more of them, but I'm assuming that's probably a likely cause across many of the national parks at this point.
It is, and it's an initiative within their organization that by the time I came to this work about a decade ago, there was a transformation that was underway as entities like the National Park Service were beginning to understand that the nighttime space is, as you said, it's a natural resource that needs to be conserved. They don't have a specific mandate to do it. They have just developed a consciousness about it over the years and have seen that it offers an additional recreation opportunity. So it does fit with the Park Service's mission. It's a natural resource. It's also increasingly recognized as a cultural resource. And so in places like national historical parks, for example, out here in the West, Chaco Canyon National Historical Park in New Mexico is certified by IDA for dark skies. And they really, if you go there and you go to one of their nighttime programs, they weave in the story of the history and the prehistory of that area, and insofar as it relates to dark night skies to their programming. So they've prioritized it at a level that's beyond what they're required to do by their congressional mandate. But I think it's because there is now a pretty wide awareness among a lot of people who work in the conservation space that in the same way that you would monitor your air quality or your water quality, monitor your other natural resources, that you really need to be mindful of and monitor the quality of your nighttime space as well as those things that we really associate with the daytime.
So preserving our night skies is obviously a very important thing to keep the dark skies dark. That's obviously an uphill battle. You can always learn more from that video, and there's more information there on how you can get involved with it too. We're blowing through episodes, so let me jump to where we sat down with the Planetary Society. So we'll see. You go up to Griffith, and it's like, Griffith is beautiful, and it's this amazing thing. And then you get up there, and you just look down at night, and it's like, there's a lot of lights here.
Yep.
So
yeah, I mean, they're beautiful, but like you can see the difference in the kids that come up just during the day with their family versus the kids that come up for the field trips. Like I taught the school field trips for the school program for about 6 years there, and at some point you take them into the planetarium dome, you turn off all the lights, you let their eyes acclimate, and the star projector turns on. And you can just see their eyes twinkle when they get out of there. A lot of them have never experienced a bright sky like that with the Milky Way outside of that dome, and you can see how it changes them. And then you teach them that they're made of stardust and walk them around and show them the periodic table and all these other things. By the time they get out of there, they're just crackling with this like newfound idea of self. It's absolutely wild to see.
Worked for me.
You just mic drop every day is just like mic drops.
Yeah, even if you only reach one person out of all those kids, that's when it was in person, it was 30,000 students a year. Now that it's a virtual school program, I forget the number, but it's very high. It's almost 100,000 students a year. I can't imagine how many lives are changed just by that one little experience. And thankfully, there's science educators budding all over the place. I feel like Carl Sagan really opened it up for so many of us. Like he made science communication, and especially space communication, so popular that now there's a bunch of us out here just sharing it with everyone. And it's nice to be able to kind of help carry on Carl Sagan's legacy, because none of us would be here without him.
Yep.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. So,
yeah.
I wish. Did you ever get to meet him, Matt?
I was in the same room as Carl exactly once in my life. Excuse me. I was covering the Viking mission for my college radio station. We had told JPL, summer of 1976, we had told JPL that we were the only public radio station in Orange County, which was true. But we didn't tell them that we had an effective radiated power of 24 watts. And so there were three of us who got in, scruffy college students, and it was a wonderful experience that I can go on about for a long time. But at one point, Carl was across the room, and we got a hold of one of his handlers, assistants, whatever. And we said, "Hi, we're from KUCI, UC Irvine. We would love to talk to Dr. Sagan." So we see this guy go back over to Carl Sagan, who is hanging out with, the major networks, the people who can actually do a good job of helping him get this message out to people, not little college radio stations. He looks over at us, three scruffy radio guys, college radio guys, and he looks back to the guy and he goes, and I get it. I understand. He was talking to CBS, or this is before CNN. And that's the closest I ever came. But I tell you, part of the incentive for wanting to be part of the organization was knowing, just like Sarah, that we were started by Carl and these other two amazing founders. Now, since then, Andrian has become, I think I can say, a friend and a great admirer. And one of the nicest things she ever said to me, one of the nicest things anybody ever said, is that she was pretty sure Carl would have enjoyed getting to know me. And I can't ask for more than that. I can truly retire now.
All right, I'm gonna have to speed things up. We're blowing through stuff. I think last year we had Phil Plate on. Phil's a great guy to have on. We hope to have him on again. But here's a scene from that. About you, and we were talking. Oh, let me restart. I was talking to. I appreciate you giving me the background on yourself, but I was talking to some friends of mine this morning about you, and we were talking because they're probably watching right now. Where does the Bad Astronomer title originate from?
It's because in that first, literally the first web page I put up. This is when I was at the University of Virginia, so it had this horrific URL like virginia.astronomy.edu / my username / all this stuff, and you couldn't buy a domain name at that point. But I had seen on TV let's see, in 93, I'm pretty sure it was March of 93, and this is an old legend that's been around since the 40s, and you don't hear about it much anymore, but there's this urban legend that you can stand eggs on end on the first day of spring. You can take an egg and set it on a tabletop, and it'll balance on its end. It's ridiculous. It's nonsense. It turns out you can do this anytime. It's hard to do, but you can do it. But I'd seen on the local news or something they were talking about this, and it was back in the day it wasn't viral, but it was, people were talking about it. So I was like, no, this is baloney. I wrote up an article about it, stuck it up on the World Wide Web. Ooh, and I had a hyperlink in it and an inline image. It was very sophisticated. And I started. It was like the first of a long line of debunking myths and misconceptions about astronomy. Then I started calling it Bad Astronomy. There was a website at the time called Bad Science, which was a guy who was actually talking about, it was more about weather. He was debunking bad ideas about weather and stuff like that. But I liked that idea, Bad Science. So I actually emailed him and said, hey, can I use that? Call mine Bad Astronomy. He was like, yeah, sure. I don't own that idea. And eventually in 98, I bought the URL, and people started calling me the Bad Astronomer. And I thought, that's pretty funny. I like it. I didn't really think it would lead to any issues. But of course, a lot of people... Eventually, I went from debunking myths and misconceptions to taking on more political topics, and then things like climate change and stuff like that. And so people who were against me would then say, "Bad Astronomer, what an apropos name." They wouldn't use the word apropos, but they would say it like that. He sure is a bad astronomer. And oh, wow, that's the first time I've heard that from some chucklehead who thinks the Earth is flat. So that's how that came about. My mom never liked it. She always thought it was unflattering, but I said, nah, it's great. It's a nickname. People like it, and it's easy to remember.
Okay, so early on, we were trying to figure out the structure of the What's Up webcast and how it would flow, and each, we're still adding episode styles. But when we decided at the end of the month to have a special guest on, we had to start with one of the most well-known people and a good friend of ours that we still work with today. And of course, he really doesn't need any introduction. You guys would know him. He's been on numerous times, and I'm sure you watch his videos when they come out. There's a real quick question here. What changes has Trevor seen over the past 4 years, especially in the What's Up webcast? Like, that's kind of weird to ask about this, but it's like...
One big one, obviously, Kevin, you're a pro at this now. I remember the early stages when you were just starting out. You were asking me some tips and everything for being on camera and equipment and everything. You've got a pretty well-oiled machine now. And then I just for your webcast, and I feel the same way about the Astro Imaging channel, and there's more channels like that. The amount of information you can learn from these live presentations, these long format presentations, is incredible. You can learn everything you could possibly want to know about astrophotography by watching every episode. So I know the views, they should be a lot higher for this webcast when they realize the value that's hidden in all of them. So yeah, but I mean, I know it's growing, it's doing well and everything, but I just feel like it's underappreciated in general.
Well, I appreciate that. But yeah, it is an hour is a long time on YouTube. An hour is a lifetime on YouTube. There are people who have come and gone on YouTube who have less than an hour's worth of content, period. But it's, as you know, Trevor, it's a ton of work on the back end. And I don't know how you do it, especially with, it's like, oh, I'm going to take you along for astrophotography, as if it was not hard enough as it is. It's like, we're going to throw another camera and record and try to talk about all this stuff. And, that's your style, and then there's our style. But all of it is a massive amount of work, from getting speakers on to finding topics. And there's sometimes where there's just a topic that is not exciting, or I'm sure you get it where it's like, I need to do something, but it's just like, there's nothing that's, really sparking at that point. So
yeah, you kind of hit these walls of whether it's energy or ideas and stuff. What always helps me through that is that just to remember how fortunate we are to actually get to talk about the stuff that we're interested in and for people to listen to it, because not everybody gets to do that, right? Like it's
No.
to have an audience is something I don't take for granted. So and in that same vein, that's why if I am, not feeling it and my energy level isn't there, I just won't make a video, because they deserve better than that, for than me to just put out something that's kind of, half-assed, when they deserve my full energy and full attention.
So on our special guests, you never really know what you're going to get. A lot of times it's very fun. It's very light. We try to keep it that way. Other times it gets really real, because you have to remember that these are experiences that these people have had in their life. So sometimes it can get on a fairly heavy topic. And that's exactly what happened when we had our friend Don Pettit on. I know we're wrapping up on questions. We are getting more in there, but we're pretty tight on time. NASA's got a tight schedule. Let's see. Probably the last one, because I know you answer stuff really thoroughly, which is, we get a lot of good comments about it. So this will be the last one. I think we can hit. What was Don's most memorable experience in space?
I was going to work really hard just to answer this question with a yes or a no. And then you ask the question that I can't do that, because I wanted to be able to at least answer one question without talking for 5 minutes. The most memorable moment. The most memorable moment was being on station when Columbia burned up and I lost a bunch of good friends.
I can't imagine being in that. That actually wasn't even the answer I was expecting to hear either. So that.
Yeah, I gave that because, I could talk about, wow, we could fly like Peter Pan, or, there's all kinds of memorable moments.
Generic
like that.
stuff, but that's.
But I just wanted to share that you can have memorable moments that aren't necessarily pleasant.
Mm-hmm.
And they are burned into your brain, and you need to use them for the story that they can tell. And the story that tells is flying in space is not without risk. And it's kind of like flying airplanes when they were made out of wood and silk, and it's something that you have to think carefully about. Why do I want to fly into space? Because it offers a certain level of risk, and it's a real harsh environment. And because of the energies involved, the kinetic energy of orbit is immense. It's the kinetic energy of orbit is about 30 megajoules per kilogram. And that's about the heat of combustion from TNT. So think if you had an avatar following you around in orbit, your body weight, but made out of TNT. And if the energy of orbit gets released in any other way other than what the engineers designed it for, it's like that avatar of TNT gives you a big hug and then detonates. So it's not so much the distance of orbit that separates you from Earth, it's the energy of orbit, and it's the energy that ramps up the danger of getting into orbit, both from the launch phase and then coming back home phase. So that's the lesson that's worth remembering when I think about what happened to my colleagues in Columbia.
I appreciate you taking that personal memoir right there, because I know you could have given the generic answers, which, is fun for kids and stuff, and we all appreciate that too, but it is something that when you are doing stuff like this, or anything science related, that does come with some inherent risk, and you should always have that at the back of your mind when you're doing that. So I really appreciate you taking that. So I know you've got other stuff to do. I know it's that bewitching hour at this point, so I really appreciate, as do everybody watching, taking the time today and talking with us, hanging out with us. Hopefully, maybe we can do it again. But thank you very much for your time this morning.
Oh, my pleasure, and for sure, let's plan to do this again, because talking about amateur astronomy combined with traveling into space are two of my favorite subjects, and like I say, I could talk about this stuff for hours.
Well, I know how to get in touch with you, so
Okay.
We'll be talking. But thank you very much. Have a great weekend, and of course, stay safe out there, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Take care. Bye now.
That was probably one of the heaviest episodes that we've currently had. And Don is currently in orbit, so we're hoping to have him back on when he comes back home. We'll see how that goes. So that was probably our biggest one when it came to an answer like that. But lightening it up a little bit, we had the pleasure of meeting Brother Guy, who's the head of the Vatican Observatory, at an event. We've worked with him on a couple different things, and we had him on. We need to have him on again. This episode had a lot of technical stuff that went down, and this is one of those episodes where we learned we had to do some upgrades. But so excuse the rendering of it, but there's some good information in it. Of course, you at the observatory state, it's been this billions of years and such. How do you navigate that to where, well, the books that we learned say this, and what you guys say is this? In a way, people could say it contradicts, but in a way, it also maps together quite well.
Yeah. I'll give you first the overall soundbite answer. My faith tells me God made the universe. My science tells me how he did it. And you will find, in scripture, dozens of different places that reference cosmology, that reference the origin of the universe, and they don't agree with each other scientifically, because scripture was written over a period of hundreds of years, and the ideas that were current when people were writing it changed over that time. So if they were using, the best science of their day during Babylonian times, they're going to give you Babylonian cosmology. It's not the cosmology that's important in scripture. It's the thing that's different from the cosmology. The Babylonians told the Israelites were captured in Babylon, at 400 BC, that the world was flat, that there was a dome. So that's what they're describing in Genesis chapter 1. What the Babylonians didn't tell you is that the universe was deliberately made by a God who wanted it to exist. It wasn't just by accident. That there is a logic behind it that follows as regular as night follows day, which is not what the Babylonians said. They said it was some warring gods that made the universe. No. Scripture says there's a logic behind it. Scripture says that it's good. Scripture says that it's worth studying. Scripture says that it's all done in the light, and so we can study it. You've got to believe all of these things before you can even try to do science. But the best part of scripture is that, the Genesis story, what's the goal of creation? To the Babylonians, it was a city of Babylon. What could be better than that? But in the 7 days of creation, the ultimate goal is the seventh day, the Sabbath, the moment where you stop worrying about what am I going to eat, where am I going to sleep. You took care of that in the 6 days. And you can kick back, contemplate the universe, and see in it the logic and the beauty and the elegance of its creator by studying it. The seventh day is where we get to be astronomers. And that is the goal of our creation. That's why we exist, not just to fill our stomachs, but to fill and feed our imagination, to feed our souls by looking at the stars, by writing scientific papers about them or writing poetry about them. by doing photographs of stellar clusters or painting, Van Gogh's Starry Night. All of this is what makes us human beings. All of this is why we exist, because we don't live by bread alone. I think I read that someplace.
Brother Guy is a fantastic person to talk to if you ever get a chance to speak with him. You could be there all day. He's just an incredible person to talk to. We need to have him back on. Sorry for the little alley blip there. That's Jared's girlfriend. Congratulations, Jared. It was a screen grab when we were doing it. So now to wrap this all up, our most recent guest that we've had on, Andrian, was a fantastic person to have on. So we're going to just wrap this whole thing up with Anne. A good friend of ours is watching. Her name's Ashley. Her and her husband run probably the largest YouTube astronomy. It's called Astro Backyard. Their trailer's called Voyager 1, and the coasters inside are the replica discs, golden records. So,
great.
So, fun stuff. Thanks, Ash. She just put that in the chat. Let's see. If you had the Golden Record project to do again, would you do anything differently?
Well, yeah, what I would do is absolutely I wouldn't curate it at all. I would send the whole World Wide Web, everything that lives on it, the good, the bad, the ugly. I would just say, this is us, make of it what you will. And I wouldn't, when the project was first presented to me, I didn't have any of these thoughts, but this is just, 50 years later, I'm thinking, it shouldn't be up to a small group of people to make these decisions. And I think, we should, the only image that NASA would not let us send on the, because there are 118 or so pictures on the Voyager record, digitally encoded. And the one picture they said absolutely no way was a young man and a woman facing the camera, frontally naked. She was visibly pregnant. They're holding hands, and they're just standing naked before the universe. And, members of Congress and NASA were like, no, can't do that. That's terrible. Because we hate ourselves so much. And we're so ashamed of ourselves. And that's the tragedy of our civilization, is that we feel like we should be punished. We feel like we are no good, even though we're just our human selves, a product of the environment, of evolution, of genes, of mutations, of trying to work together for a very long time. Anyway, so I personally think that any attempt at curation is probably a mistake, because it's going to reflect my bias or your bias or my pretensions or yours. Let's stand naked before the universe. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
And just say, this is who we are in our very flawed, but at moments inspired reality.
So we've had hundreds of episodes. We could have pulled clips from every single one and been here for days at this point. So we tried to pick the best ones that we could. We really hope you enjoyed this episode. That's pretty much it for today. Thank you for celebrating the 5th anniversary of the What's Up Webcast. I know there's some questions in here. I'll get to them really quickly just to answer them. Let's see. Jared and Jeff, when are you guys going to convince Kevin to grow a beard like yourselves? Don't do beards. Sorry. I like a little bit of it. And my other half likes this. So, which she will be at NEAF too, if you want to meet the other half that supports all this crazy stuff, Chelsea will be there at NEAF. You can stop by and say hi to Chelsea at the booth and see who tolerates all my stuff. Another question here. How's the fish tank going? The fish tanks are out. They're running. They're doing really well. But that's it for today, guys. I hope you really enjoyed this episode. It's fun taking a look back at everything that we've done. Obviously, we didn't have enough time to do everything. We didn't even have time to get to all the things that we pulled for this episode, too. But thanks for hanging out. Really enjoy spending time with you guys on Friday. We'll see some of you at NEAF. Tomorrow, if you are here in the Phoenix area, my team will be at the Arizona Science Center from 10:30 to 4. We will have solar telescopes out there. There's a big event going out in front of it that's a heritage thing. So we'll be closer to the front door, but we'll have multiple telescopes out there. If you want to see a Heliostar 76 production model, we will have one out there. You are welcome to come by. It's free. You can take a look through it. But there will be a Heliostar 76 out on display on the sun tomorrow outside the Arizona Science Center, along with some other stuff. Stop by, say hi. Other than that, we'll see you guys next week. We have Pranvera Hyseni on next week as our special guest. We'll be talking to her and her outreach. Other than that, thank you so much. Clear skies. Have a great weekend, and we will catch you guys next week for another What's Up Webcast. Take care. See ya. Don't forget to subscribe. Leave a like. Bye.